You are listening to The Growth Signal. My name is Alyssa Nolte,
And I'm Samir ElKamouny.
and we're going to get right into it. Samir, tell us, what is your hot take?
Well, we were talking about AI ahead of time, so why not just kind of stay on that vein? I would say that 99% of jobs will be replaced and only the 1% will survive.
I cannot wait to have this discussion because I get the full spectrum of people on this show. Everyone who thinks AI is, no different than Microsoft Word. And yes, it's revolutionary now, but someday it'll just be a commodity that we use as part of our day-to-day work. I get people who say exactly what you said, where we're headed towards this grand utopia of AI doing the work and we get to just be humans and enjoy life. So I would love to get your perspective. Why do you think that 99% of jobs will be replaced? And let's put your futurist hat on. What will we be doing if we're not working?
Well, I am part of the 1%, so I will still be working. And I don't mean the 1% of like income earners or anything like that. I mean 1% of quality of work. I don't know a better way to position it. And yeah, if you think about what jobs will there be that a robot or AI couldn't do better, I can't think of any besides the human interaction, which we were talking about before we hit record. And so there definitely will be lots of positions available for those types of opportunities to create real real connection. I think festivals, things like that will still exist, will still do great, if not actually do better. But yeah, I struggle to think about it, what it looks like. And maybe that changes because obviously when we went through the Industrial Revolution, we had the same thought, all the jobs are going to be replaced and there's nothing going to be after that. And it just opened up lots of opportunities for more jobs. But I definitely feel like this is different. And I'm very much so an optimist, but I think it's very difficult for me to not see a dystopia before I see a utopia coming afterwards. But I definitely can see the utopia happening for sure.
So if someone is hearing this and they're saying, "Oh shit, I am not in that 1%," or "I don't think I'm in that 1%," is there anything that they can start doing or start building, or skills or things that they need to start doing in order to make sure that their job is as AI proof as is humanly possible in this day and age?
Yeah, I mean, it's always come down to just being a really good problem solver. I mean, that's always been one of the biggest things, right? I mean, we employ people like we always want people who solve problems, who are proactive, not reactive, and coming up with solutions. I think that will not stop critical thinking. We've always stressed that, right? We've been talking for like over a decade that like a liberal arts degree could be more beneficial than say
Yeah.
an engineering degree. I'm not here to argue that in any way, shape, or form, but just kind of we've been having those types of conversations for a long time, right? And so, yeah, I can see. I don't know. I can see it, and I don't know. It's not worried about it in any way, shape, or form. I don't think people should be worried about it, obviously, until there's a situation happening to them, individually. But you got to learn AI at a minimum because essentially there's going to be people who are just right? People who are using AI, people who are building AI, and then everybody else kind of left by the wayside, I'd say. So, just learn it, get good at it, see how it can help you at your own job, at what you're currently doing, and bring value, to your workplace or use it to differentiate your business, whatever it is. Doesn't matter where you are, whether you're the owner or whatever. Utilize it to your benefit. I think then you should be okay for the longer possible, or become a plumber. Other way, either way.
Hey, and I don't have any of those in my area. I can't get one to come over and redo my bathroom for me. So,
I'm
I
talking
mean,
about.
yeah, come do that for me because I really actually I do need that.
That'll be one of the
Um,
last jobs to go.
absolutely, absolutely can't get enough now. I love that you commented about learn how to use AI because my frustration with basically people who haven't like put their hands on it yet or haven't really deeply started to use it is they treat it like this magic, like I put in something and something magical pops out. And that is not my experience with AI at all. Like you have to understand how it works, how it thinks, how it processes information so that you can give it what it needs in order to return the result you want. It's not a magic box.
Mhm. Yeah.
Maybe not yet.
Nope. Garbage in, garbage out for sure. And I feel like the better of a subject matter expert you are in something to help apply your thought leadership, your understanding, your deep knowledge and expertise into it is only going to increase the output that you receive. I had this conversation with a friend of mine, close friend of mine, my age, has never touched ChatGPT. I'm like, what's your problem, dude? I literally
Have you
wouldn't
been
even
under a
hire
rock?
you.
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, I wouldn't even hire you. He got really upset when I said that comment to him, but it's the truth. And so we had this conversation, and then he's telling me the reason that he hasn't used it is because he has a coworker who all her emails are horrible, and she uses ChatGPT to write all the emails. And I said, "Well, were her emails good to begin with?" No, they weren't. Well, it's how you're using the technology, right? At the end of the day, and that's why, yeah, you have to get good at prompting. You have to get conversational with it. I mean, I rarely just do a prompt. I ask a lot of questions first, and then slowly get to like where I'm trying to go. Because the more information you can feed it, the more. I mean, this is something that I've obsessed with anyways for decades, of just making sure that I have as much context and as much insights as possible to then come up with the answer or solution or whatever it is. And it is no different. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's just and there's so many out there. There's so many different tools. It's insane. You kind of have to just be like messing with stuff because you don't really know what's going to work for you in your, business. I feel like my wife is a creative, and she tested so many tools for so long and it was garbage. And she had to learn like this very specific prompting language and all these things that actually get the output. But I feel like all the work that she put in those early days has enabled her to become one of the top people I've ever seen in the output that she puts out. And that's a perfect example where I could hand those tools to a non-designer. They're never going to be able to come up with what she comes up with. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, put Adobe Creative Cloud in my hand and I'll be like, "I don't even know how to open this thing," but there's people out there who can do incredible, amazing things with it because they've taken the time to learn the skill, but there's also, like, an innate level of just talent that some of us have. Like, I am not a designer in any way, shape, or form. You can make me the world's foremost expert on the technical process of how to use Adobe, and I'm not gonna design something as beautiful as someone who just has that eye for it and just really has that background and that expertise and is just naturally good at it. So I don't try to design things. I hire people who are good at it.
Same.
So, I also think too, one of the misconceptions about AI and how people are using it is that magic box kind of concept. And I loved what you said about like you still have to have the expertise. These tools amplify what's great about you already, not invent it for you.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And it can be used I feel like a lot of people are worried about, oh, well, I it's not as good as my customer service rep right now. Okay.
Right
Maybe
now being
maybe
the
it is, maybe
operative.
it isn't, right? But a good example is, I've got one business that we wanna have a phone number, but, there isn't a person always available to answer. So, is it better to actually have at least AI always be able to answer and then schedule an appointment for that person instead of them not being able to reach somebody? I think so. And so you can always use these tools to, exactly like you said, right? To sort of like fill in the gaps and fill in the bottlenecks and improve and increase output, customer experience, quality assurance, you name it, right? There's lots of, I mean, we could talk about a million different versions of that, but so it doesn't have to be something where, okay, now it's replacing, but amplifying already, what you're already doing to just drive better results, better customer experiences, you name it.
So one of your backgrounds, and when I was first doing research on this conversation, saw that you had a company that specializes in helping design funnels and get people like acquisition for customers. Where do you think the future of that funnel process it goes when AI is part of the touch points, part of the conversation? How do we change our customer acquisition approach when we have this new superpower?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's been around for a while in theory, because if you think about the algorithms, advertising algorithms, it's been around for a while. So it kind of goes back to what we talked about in the beginning of the human touch point. I think we can sort of see when something's been written by AI versus not. And while the algorithms are going to do an incredible job of getting the right message in front of the right person at the right time, it still needs to be a message that's going to resonate with a real person
Yeah.
and not just assuming that it's not. And so I think it enables us to free up more time to dig into truly understanding who your ideal customer profile is. This is something I preach a lot, but if you don't know who your ideal customer profile is, find out. If you think you know who it is, you're probably still wrong. If you're talking about demographics, you're still not there. You need to dig really, 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 really deep and understand their pains, their fears, where they live, where they hang out, what activities they like to do. I'm saying silly things, but like literally as much information as you can humanly find, because then you're able to speak directly to them and talk about the key points of differentiation of your business or your service or your product or whatever it is. And so it becomes really important to and then you can systematize it and test lots of stuff really fast. And I think that's the most fun thing for me. I love testing. I love A/B testing. Everything is like a split test in my life to me. I think I obsess about conversion rate optimization from everything in the whole world. I think about conversion rate optimization when I get to a red light. Which lane should I go in that will move faster? I mean, it's ridiculous, but not
It's
that
not
that's
ridiculous, I'm the
conversion.
same way. I'm the same way, and then I get really pissed when I picked the wrong lane
Ah,
or I picked the wrong line in the grocery store. I was like, "Damn it, I failed this conversion test." But it is a little bit of a game for me because I want to win, and I want to win that conversion test, and everything in life is choices, and that's true for our customers too. Like, they already know how they wanna buy your product. If they wanna buy your product, they know what process they need, they know what information, like, they have a way that they wanna buy, and we just have to make sure that we create a path that is as frictionless, as seamless as possible to facilitate them saying yes because they want to if they want your product. But a lot of companies that I see get so in the way of saying yes, it drives me crazy. Because I'm like, just
yep,
take my money. I'm trying to buy something from you. Why are you making me go through this process? And it's because someone on the inside didn't really understand the customer, didn't deeply understand their ICP. So they have to put all this process in place, even though I would literally just like to write you a check right now.
yep, it's true. And if I have to look elsewhere for information, like it's that's a problem. And so often we think that we're solving that problem, but we're not. And, and I love sort of that idea of, the what's it called? The hero's journey of your website should be, the guide and the hero is the customer. And so, right, if you think of every Disney movie, that's how they always go, right? And too often we're trying to make our website like the hero or the product the hero, but actually the customer needs to be the hero. And so I think that's where, you know, if you could still use AI to transcribe that and get the results that you need in order to position yourself in a really an amazing way and make everything appealing to your ICP, but as long as it's really highlighting the benefits and like that's one of the biggest things where I don't ever see that unless I specifically prompt it to give me.
I think too, a lot of times it is hard, right, to step out of yourself and like see through the eyes of that customer instead of your own self because I've sat in so many meetings where some executive who makes 10 times my salary has decided that, he had a coffee with a buddy at a conference and it's like, "Oh, this is the message that we should use because so and so competitor is using something similar." And you just sit there and look at him, I'm like, "You are not the customer." Like, yes, I understand that you're the decision maker in this process, but, like, step out of your ego and realize that you're not the hero of this story. You're not the hero of this conversation. Neither is the sales team, neither is our website, neither is our product. But exactly to your point, the customer is the main character, the protagonist, the hero we are all cheering on in this process, and everything you create should support that journey for them and not the other way around.
Yep. Yeah, and let the data tell you that. I mean, I think it's super important. I think it's totally fine to have a coffee with your buddy and come up with a fun idea to test, but it should be a test. And then you should see what the results are that and let the data speak for itself. Exactly to your point. I mean, it is one of those things that unfortunately people don't really do the research. And the other thing is I totally understand. I mean, I've worked with hundreds of founders. I totally understand that when you become this doctor, you become this practitioner of what you offer. And so it's very difficult for you to set a 20,000-foot view. I totally understand that. You're so far in the weeds, you understand your product so much that you're like, well, it should just be obvious. It feels obvious. And, it's never that obvious. And so I think it's always a great thing to, run surveys and find out, let the data speak for itself, and do those types of activities to find out, yeah, what can we do to improve the customer experience?
And two, I think you have to remember that the customer, one, doesn't have your background or context or experience. They weren't in that 4-hour meeting where we discussed all the nuances that go into these things that went into our website. So it got distilled down to one thing that could fit in a headline, but there was a bunch of nuance and conversation that went into that. They don't get that context. So if you can't understand what the headline is without the background, the context, and the experience, they're not going to understand and it's not going to resonate. I had this exact experience in my personal life. My 10-year-old son started playing baseball. That is not a sport that I ever grew up with. We didn't watch it. I never played anything, neither did my husband. Like, we were very much more basketball, football people. And so he'll come and talk to me about all of these things and he'll talk to me about all these baseball things. And it's if I know exactly what he is talking about. And I finally realized, like, buddy, I do not know anything about this sport. So you're telling me all of these headlines about what you did at practice. I have no idea what you're talking about. And so me as the recipient of this message had to either decide to go do my own research and fill in the gaps or just let it pass me by and not really engage in the conversation. Those are my options. And of course, I'm his mother and I love him. So I wanted to understand the things that he cared about. Our customers are not our children and they do not love us yet. So therefore, they're not going to take the time to go learn about it on your behalf. You have to bring that to the table.
Yep. Yeah. One of the easiest exercises to do, and sometimes a lot of times when we do this with clients, they get really excited, but like re-excited about their business is just start a spreadsheet and on one column, write out all your features, just every feature that you can think of your product, of your service, whatever. And then on the right, and then column next to that, write what benefit that feature brings home. You're gonna come up with a bunch of amazing benefits, and then what I want you to do is then go back and look at your website, go look at your marketing materials, go look at the conversations your customer service reps are having, whatever it is, and see, are any of these benefits being translated at all? Are any of these benefits being highlighted? And if not, you have a great place to start to improve conversion events, anything that's happening, customer experience, you name it. Better ways to sell your product, sales marketing. It doesn't matter. Like it's and if the customer isn't feeling those benefits, then there's also could be something a problem with the product or the service or what have you. And so, yeah, a lot can come out of that.
And it does require you to make like a specific conscious effort because it's so easy for me to rattle off all of the things that we do and not necessarily the reason that you should care about what they do and what's in it for you. And like, you really have to consciously decide to take yourself out of your own perspective, your own experience, and your own priorities and sit on the other side of that table.
Mhm. Yep.
Considering all the people that you know or aspire to know, who else is out there? Who else should we be listening to?
Oh goodness. You know what? I'm going to pivot totally, and I'm gonna encourage people to go check out Jeffrey Allen.
Okay, tell us more.
Um, I don't know. I just feel like we kind of talked about a lot of interesting things. We were talking about a little AI stuff and, people being maybe jobless or not, and who knows what things are going to happen in the future. And I think at the end of the day, like we all need to be spreading kindness and consideration, and especially being kind to each other and, sorry, being kind to ourselves. And so, I think it's just being able to live a life with more fullness and love. I think that's probably one of the most incredible people to follow and to learn from. And so I feel like a lot of stuff we were talking about was kind of being harsh on ourselves and being harsh to our, to our CEOs or whoever it is. And so that's that. We'll leave it there, I guess.
And if someone is really connecting with you, they want to learn more, where can they find you online?
I'm the only Samir ElKamouny in the world, so it's real easy to find me wherever you choose. Instagram, TikTok. No, no, please not TikTok. Even though I'm there, yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are probably the two better ones. But wherever you can find me, pretty easy. I'm in Las Vegas if you want to come visit me.
Oh, we were just talking about that. I am in Vegas more often than I probably should be. So Totally looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Samir, for coming on the show today. Thank you for sharing your insights. This was a really interesting conversation, a unique conversation, and one that I think everybody needs to hear.
Thanks, Alyssa. Really appreciate it.